Today on our lesson in Math and English, we worked on the topic of linear equations with parameters. We learned this topic both on Ukrainian math and English math, so the theories with these topics we learned both in Ukrainian and English. A little bit of motivation from Mrs. Oksana for good work never killed anyone. And now we move on to the theory. So when we have a linear equation with parameter, it looks like this, but we take this and we put it here, so this is how it looks. And to solve it, we need to have two options. So the first one is when a doesn't equal to 0, and the second one is when a equals to 0. So when a doesn't equal to 0, that means that we don't have any restrictions, and we can do the rule that x equals b divided by a, and so x can be any number, well, except 0, because and when a is equal to 0, then we also need to have two options. So the first one, so it's going to be 0, x equals b, and so we need two options. The first one is when b equals to 0, and the second one is when b doesn't equal to 0. So when b equals to 0, that means that the equation looks like this: 0 times x equals 0, and when 0 times any number, it's going to be 0. So x can be any number. And when b doesn't equal to 0, then we have 0 times x equals b, and it's not possible because 0 times any number is going to be 0, so we have an empty set. After repeating the theory, you need to consolidate your knowledge in practice, so several equations have been solved and explained.
So if you want to solve the equation, we have 3 options to how to use it. So first is when a equals to 0, so it means that x times 0, and it's a times 0, so 0 equals 0, so x is any number. And the second option is when a doesn't equal 0, so we have 0 times x equals 8, so it's impossible, so x is empty set. And finally we have the option when x doesn't equal 0, so we have the answer that x equals to 8 divided by 8.
So we have an equation here. Let's put all the x's in the left side and all the numbers in the right side. So as I did there, I put them all together, and then opened the brackets, another brackets, and I saw the formula, and I made the formula actually, and I saw that this is like equals to this. So if we do like a is not 0, so let's take a number 2, because 2 minus 2 equals 0. So no. And if in these brackets it is 0, so x can be any number. And let's look at another number that can be is minus 2. So minus 2 equals minus 4, but in these brackets it's equals 0, and it just cannot be, because when we multiply something like x by 0, then we will always get a 0, but in this equation we get minus 4, so x is an empty set. But if we do like a equals 0, then to get this we just need to write down x equals a minus 2 divided by a minus 2 multiplied by a plus 2, and we saw the same expression, and we divided, and then we get like 1 divided by a plus 2.
So we have this equation, and the first thing we have to do is get rid of the brackets, so we multiply everything, and yeah, it's going to be this. And then we put anything with an x to one side and everything else to the other side, so it's going to be a times x minus 25x. Going to be a plus 5. And so we see here that it's a formula, but we need to get rid of the x's, so we take them out into brackets, and it's going to look like this. And then, so the formula here is, yeah. And then we need to look at different options so this thing can like work. So the first one is when this equals to 0, and the second one is when this equals to 0. So that means that either a is going to be minus 5 or a is going to be just 5. And so when a is minus 5, then it's going to be x times 0 equals 0, because right here that also means that it's going to be a 0. And then x can be any number, because 0 times any number is still going to be 0. But if a equals 5, then it's going to be x times 0 equals 10, and that doesn't work, so it's going to be an empty set. And the next option is when a doesn't equal minus 5 or 5 or 0, so we can just do the formula that x equals a plus 5 divided by a plus 5 times a minus 5. And so we do like this, and we get 1 divided by a minus 5.
And then be expected.